This is the RGT EX86110. Is it any good? Stay tuned to find out. It's 360 Australian dollars it was. And it's an interesting machine because although I received mine and it had been opened and it's dusty and there was a drive shaft sitting loose in the box. The dust we can deal with, the drive shaft we could reattach. What's underneath here isn't bad. There are a few things that make this thing look a bit like a toy. From the integrated on-off switch underneath the skid plate to the shiny little bits of plastic and whatnot. But there are also a few features of this interesting machine that put it up there with some of the big names. The stuff that jumps out to me first is that we have glued tires, but they're vented, they're soft, the rubber feels pretty good, nice and bendy. There's a 15 kgs servo, as it's marked in the front, but it has a metal servo horn and there's good throw. Now, another nice feature is there's an adjustable turnbuckle there on this link. You can adjust the toe. All the links are stainless steel. This has a curious design in that there's a panhard rod, which also is adjustable, but then we also have 4 links in the front. You only need 1 upper link, not 2, when you have a panhard. And articulation on the left is thorough and complete. The right is a bit constrained, and that's because it's got a strange setup. I don't really know what to say to that. It's not a creative decision, it's incorrect. It's needlessly limiting articulation. Yeah, so it's stiffer on that side, on the right than on the left. But stuff they did right, there are metal mounting points for the stainless steel links, and they've got stainless steel ball ends as well. You can see them used as spacers in the front there. Bump stop steering, it's probably 2.7 kilos I'd say. Plastic bumpers front and rear, and a reasonably nice body, blacked out windows and all, but overall I think it'll be okay. Now the shocks aren't adjustable, but it does come with spacers. And windscreen wipers, which I haven't attached, I must say. You need to make holes for them, which I probably won't do. But it does come with spacers for the shocks, and you might, if you buy this, stick a few on the rear. I may not get around to that today, but we've got a couple of sticker sheets and some hop-up parts. This has the same design as the Dumbo RC, but it's the basic one with just buttons for channels 5 and 6. Channel 3 lights up when you press it, and that's a function I would love to see on all radios. This had been opened when I got it as well. It has some fingerprints on it and whatnot. I got it from an eBay seller. 4AA batteries. This is just your Dumbo RC 6 channel, but it's just a basic one. And just with some basic adjustments as well. It comes with a nickel metal hydride battery. And the other thing I'll say about the body is that the lights and the spotties both have plugs. Now that's for the headlights, and there's an output there for the spotties. Orange in the bumpers for some reason, and white headlights, that's good. And red rears, so the red's fine, but the orange is kind of odd. It's all right. There's a sticker that's been peeled off there. I don't know what was on there, but it says it's a 40 amp ESC. It's unmarked though, but it's got the LiPo and nickel metal hydride adjustment. You'd need to take a guess. There's a 17 turn 550 3-pole motor. Sorry, it's a 2 amp nickel metal hydride battery, which implies that a 1/2 amp charger would theoretically charge this sucker in 4 hours, roughly. It's thoughtfully designed. You've got metal on each end of the shafts. You've got a separate transfer case and a stiffening bracket here, which doesn't really need to be there, but it does a little bit of cable management, so that's a plus. Yeah, okay, it does need to be there. This is quite flimsy, but for a crawler, I've said this before, it doesn't really matter too much. I think it'll go okay, honestly. I mean, there's metal where there needs to be metal. That's metal in the ends of there. And these drive shafts are better quality than some of the really expensive stuff I bought out of China, some of the nice trucks and whatnot. These are good shafts. I like that it's a separate transfer case. I like that the servo sits next to the motor. I like that the weight bias is about right. It's roughly 50-50. That's with this giant battery in the back. So if you got rid of that and stuck a small LiPo in the front, you'd have the beginnings of a performer. I like that it's adjustable. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. If it makes you feel better, I can't see what I'm doing either. these wires need to be longer. That's quite difficult to put together. It's almost not worth plugging these lights in, honestly. And it uses the standard bent stainless body clips. I like these. They're easy to handle. Unlike the hole it's got to go through, that's really stiff. With its 50% weight bias, now the travel's not bad. I've got 3 tyres on the ground there. Front and rear, that's pretty decent travel. I'd still be inclined to probably stick a spacer or 2 in the rear shocks and just leave the fronts as they are. So out of the box, the end points weren't quite adjusted. What you do is, you turn this thing upside down and you go to the full side and see where the bump stops hit the stopper. And you don't go too much further. There we go. So that's that done. I don't think this is going to go too well on our 6 problem course. I reckon we're going to get at least 3 done here, possibly 4. Is it worth saving the extra money for a big name, or is this one alright? I'm not sure, but let's punt it around these 6 problems and find out. There we go. So doing that, I had to get the exact right line. It took 4 attempts, but we got there. It doesn't turn very sharply and it rolls easily. So your center of gravity is also too high. Could be a function of cheap suspension. This problem tests tire grip. And occasionally you'll get a car that just can't get up. The departure angle is hurting this truck. It keeps getting stuck, the bumper's dragging. That's a bad sign for problem 6 and also possibly problem 5. And the body keeps popping out as well. My first impression of this truck is I don't like it. At this point, I'd say you'd be better off saving the extra $100 and wait a bit longer till you can afford it to buy something nicer like a Gen 8 V2 or a Sendero HD if you like crawling. That said, we've just finished problem 2. Now, I'm not coming into this with any negative bias for this truck. I really would like to see it do all 6 problems. That would be great. I don't think it will, but it might. I would actually like to be wrong. Okay, so seeing how the body kind of tucks down onto that back right there, if you had a spacer or 2 on the springs, it would help hold it up. I'm debating whether or not to do that, but we might drive it stock first and just see how we go. But stiffening up the rear would be a good idea for crawling performance. Yeah. Doesn't have the wheel speed to pick itself up. Second attempt, trying a slightly different approach. The diffs have reasonable clearance. Same problem, hey? What I'm trying to do is pull it up towards us, and then as soon as it falls, you hoik it round and drag it up, but it's gonna roll. Now you're seeing my first impression of this truck. I haven't driven it before. The motor and servo are warm. No, can't do problem 3. Okay, on to problem 4. Now, it couldn't do problem 3, and my money is against it doing problem 4 as well. This is a clearance test, this one. And even the entry sucks for this truck. The rear diff is already caught. I'm not liking our chances, to be honest. Yeah, it was a bit sloppy, but it did it. There we go. Okay, that's a start. I will say at this point, I'm not really enjoying myself. This is tedious. The EX86110 might be a good trail truck. Now, a crawler is often more than the sum of its parts. In this case, what we're experiencing is each of these parts doing what they're designed to do, but they've been a bit too aggressive with the knife for budget. We've managed problems 1 and 2 after several attempts. 3 and 4 failed after several attempts, and I can see that it was doing it so hard. We're going to try problem 5, and we may get up it because it's a bit more forgiving than problems 3 and 4. I don't like our chances for 6, but let's give it a go. Okay, problem 5. At this stage, I'm thinking this is a trail truck, much more than it is a crawler. If it just needed 1 or 2 things, this was my point. If it just needed 1 or 2 things to become a good crawler, I'd be excitedly telling you about that. But because the motor and the tires are holding it back, and to a lesser extent the battery and the servo and the geometry, as a whole, this is not an attractive machine to buy as a rock crawler. Yeah, as a trail truck, yeah, even for a trail truck, I think you've got better choices. See, if you wanted a fun trail truck, the Bruiser clone, the HG 401, that's a fun trail truck. This tries to be a cheaper vehicle in the same class as the Gen 8 V2, but it does it poorly. Now, this was a 17-turn 550 motor, and it's just drunk through the juice. A lithium battery would have lasted better, but a 21-turn would have been a smarter move for current. Now, this isn't a complete failure of a machine. The wheels are, well, the tires are small for this scale of truck. They suit the body, they look good, but they're a bit smaller than some of the others, so that doesn't help. And the rubber compound's not great. Right now we're being held back on the bumper. The departure angle on this isn't good. All right, I'm gonna call it, and we're gonna have a quick chat. Don't buy the EX86110 if you want a rock crawler, but think hard before you buy it if you want a trail truck. I believe there are probably better choices. Sometimes I'll tell you what needs to be upgraded to get a better rig, but in this case I think there are too many things that need fixing to make this good. If you have this already and you want to make it better, or if you really can only get, if you've got a limited choice and this is one that you're seriously considering, here's what you do. Leave the servo, remove the top right front upper link, consider swapping the 17-turn motor for a 27-turn motor or a 21. You'll lose some speed, but you'll gain battery life. The tires are not good. Consider the Ozstar clone wheels of one of the various big tires that are out there. A $30 expenditure on that will help this thing a long way, I think. And you also want to stick some of those spacers in the rear shocks and stiffen up the rear a little bit. So that's really all. The rest of it is okay. I like that it's adjustable, and it'll go okay. If you found this little exploration of the RGT EX86110 useful, throw me a like. Thanks for joining me. I'm Craig, and I'll catch you next time on RC-TNT.